I'm quite excited to have this session with you guys, and I hope you enjoy.
Beautiful. Thank you, Shakira. Leslie, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Memba, and I'll be representing Nova Pioneer Omondi. It's in South Africa, Johannesburg. And I'm really honored to be part of this initiative. I thank you for including me, and I'm looking forward to a great conversation with all of you.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. Ari will join us later on. So as he joins us, we'll we'll give him the opportunity to. Oh, Ari is in. Oh, beautiful, Ari. Thank you. So introduce yourself.
My name is Ari Bet. I'm from Nova Pioneer, Tatu City, Kenya. I'm really honored to be with you guys in this session. I thank you for inviting me. And I hope you have a great session. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much. So now that we're full house, thank you everyone for your patience. So I think the first thing we'll start with right now, because you know, when you think about creative arts, there's very many different aspects, you know, that we can look at it from. So maybe we could start with Ari, since you're the last one to speak. Maybe talk to us about the example, you know, like of arts that you're more specialized in, and then we'll go to Shakira, and then lastly, Leslie.
Okay, so personally, I'm an artist, a traditional artist, so I like to draw, paint, the usual, but I also do a lot of comic work. Okay, it's manga, it's Japanese comic, so it's black and white. And that's my main thing. That's what I enjoy to do. And my creative process basically lies within storytelling, which I'm super good.
Thank you, Ari. So you have a great focus on storytelling, but with the visual element. What about you, Shakira?
I could also say I'm a traditional artist. I like doing a lot of work with my pencil, but I've been exploring myself and trying to discover other materials that I can work with. Like I recently tried oil pastels, I tried charcoal, painting, so I'm still discovering myself.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shakira. And what about you, Leslie? What area of art are you specialized
Um, so I have an obsession with words. I really love the power of self-expression through words. And so the artistic area which I now currently specialize in is poetry. I've managed to start my own poetry network at Nova Pioneer Monday. It's called Spoken Word. But as Shakira said, right, we don't limit ourselves to these things. So I'm still learning. I'm hoping to learn how to play a musical instrument later. So that would be cool.
Okay, nice. And we hope to at least get a sample of, you know, the kind of art that you're focused on. But my first question to, I think it would be nice to hear everyone's perspective. When did you first get to know that you're creative? Do you remember the time? Do you remember what it is that you did, or what it is that someone said to you that made you feel like you're creative? So maybe we can start with you, Leslie, and then we could go to Shakira and then Ari.
Well, I don't remember the time necessarily, but I do remember that it was in grade 8. So I was sitting in the classroom, and the teacher said, "Today we're going to be learning about poetry." And I never knew what poetry was. I wasn't even interested in it. And so she showed us a video, which up till today is my favorite poem in the whole world. It's a poem by Joshua Bennett. It's called Ballet Noctera. So she played that video for us in class, and I was mesmerized. I was like, "What? This is so awesome!" And so what I did is that I went home and I wrote a poem of my own, and I sent it to the teacher. and she really loved it. And at that time, our school was having a talent show. So she forced me to join the talent show, and we had a wonderful show. And I kept getting compliments from students' parents, and people were like, "Oh, Liz, you did well. That was so cool." And that's when I realized, I was like, "Wow, this is an actual thing." And since that day, I've been in poetry.
Okay. Nice. Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Shakira?
Um, I used to be in a school that had arts and crafts as a mandatory class. And I remember I hated art so much. I can even remember my teacher's name because of how much I used to hate him, because of I used to be terrible at drawing. But then I was good at crafts, and I think that's where my creativity came in. And I remember one of the projects that I really loved the most was making a basket out of manila paper, and it motivated me to continue making more things. Then I just started doing things by drawing and painting, and I realized that I really like doing this, and this is something that I can use my creativity to do.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. What about you, Ari? When was the first time you remember thinking that you are creative? What is it that you did? Ari, you are on mute. Could you unmute yourself?
Oh, sorry. I don't really remember a specific time when I would say this is when I realized I was creative. But I remember when I was in pre-unit, so I was like what, 6 years old, five. Uh, in school, we were told to draw a tree. So I drew my tree. I was done. I colored it in. And I sat there. I was waiting. I was like, you know what? This isn't enough. I
Okay.
did like background. I put in a river, hills, birds, sun shining with clouds. And I think from then on, the teacher really he praised me and told me you can really do this. I took up to that, and my brother used to be, he still is, my brother draws a lot. So I also took from him, and he would draw, and I'd be like, I also want to do that, so I would also draw. And from there, I just kept growing and growing. But high school is where I really took it up, and I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. So what we're going to do next, thank you, Ari, for sharing. I will share an example of the works. So for the visual arts, this is for Shakira and Ari, just an example of their work. And then you'll get to at least explain to us what it is that we will be seeing and what that particular art means to you. And then after that, Leslie will have 2 minutes to share with us like a very short piece he wrote and did. And then you can explain to us, you know, what that means to you. So just give me a second to share my screen. Great. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Beautiful.
can see it.
So let me just put it on full screen so that everyone can see. Great. So the first one is a piece from Ari. So Ari, just explain to us what this is and what was going through your mind when you made this, and what does this piece mean to you?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite pieces. I haven't really given it a name, but it was me experimenting with some charcoal that my friend got me, charcoal pencils my friend got me. So I decided I need to use this somewhere, and this is actually an image I got from Pinterest. An award-winning image. I don't remember where from, but I think it was quite a challenge, especially to do a lot of wrinkles, things that I'm not really used to. But I like how it turned out. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. The next one is Shakira. Shakira, take us through what this is, what it means to you, and what was going through your mind when you came up with this piece.
So basically, this is a peacock, and I named him Jim. My friend Joy Mukami from school challenged me to draw this peacock. We had a thing for challenging each other to draw things so that we can improve ourselves. So I first drew it, and then I looked at the drawing, and I thought that it looked kind of bland, and thought that it would be interesting to put in color.
Yes.
So I started to draw this, and then I also used the skills that my teacher had given me. Had recently taught me about using lights and shadows, which was quite new for me. So it helped me experiment and work on this project, and that's what I like about it.
Oh, beautiful. So this is an example of you getting out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself. Huh? Beautiful.
Yeah.
The next one is from Ari. Ari, just explain to us what this is. And yeah.
Okay, basically, this is my love for anime. I'm a really big fan of drawing of anime and manga, just the Japanese culture. And so I drew this piece quite a while ago, but then it was only done in ink. But I recently got watercolors, so I decided to add in the color, and I think I really like how it turned out, especially with the tail pink. Yeah, so it basically just represents my love for anime.
Oh, nice. Thank you so much. At least we're seeing your passion like living through whatever you're doing and also experimenting with the different pieces. There's the charcoal and then now there's, the color. And Shakira, this is interesting. It's quite a shift from the other one. Explain to us what this is.
Okay, so I had a few classes with my art teacher a while back, and the first thing he did was when I reached there was he took me to a crafts shop and told me to pick pieces of canvas, and I was picking small ones, but then he forced me to pick one of these big ones and asked me to think of something I can do on the canvas, and this is one of the ideas I had to challenge myself and learn how to make reflections and how to use color. And I made quite a lot of mistakes during the process, but I was learning, which was a great part.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I think we have another piece from Ari. Ari, take us through this. It looks very complicated.
Yeah, this one actually took me quite a long time. It's like a building made of containers. Uh, I did this while in school. I used a lot of my prep time to finish this up. But I think it was quite a challenge, especially with all the different angles of piece. It was something a bit new and different. But I like how it turned out, and the red in the background really makes the rest of the image pop, which I really enjoy.
Okay, nice. So I think this is just like, I wish we could go through everything that you guys have worked on, but I also want us to give Leslie, some time to take us through like his piece, and then we can continue on with some of the questions I have for you. So Leslie, take it away.
Okay. So the title of my piece is called The Canvas. Into the face of creativity. Its eyes scintillate like the stars in the night sky from a mickle furnace. Its skin broadcasts the skin of a newly born baby while imitating the feel of feathered cushions. Its nose is like that of a sea captain who has dedicated his life to riding the waves of the salty waters. Its locks are a semblance of freshly baked golden muffins, while I detect an olfaction of rosebud. So while dazzled and hypnotized by the beauty of creativity, my mind drifts into a warp of endless possibilities, whereby an ant And this poem is special to me because at the time I didn't know what exactly to write about, and so I was like, that's the beauty of creativity, is that you never know what it is that you're gonna do. As Shakira said, you just start out with a drawing, and next thing you decide, let's add some color to it, let's change this, let's do that. And so I was like, all of those things run through your mind, right? You think about the locks, you think about the hair, you think about the nose, and that's all while staring into the face of a blank canvas. So everything's still blank. You haven't done anything yet, but all of that runs through your mind, and that's creativity for me.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Leslie. And I think now I can move now to the questions I have. And I think this is a very important one when it comes to especially building your creative confidence. So have you ever been in a space where you have doubted your work or talent? And if yes, and I'm sure like the answer for a lot of you would be yes, how have you worked through that doubt? So maybe I'll start with you, Leslie.
For me, the answer is yes, definitely. How often? Very often. In fact, I'm doubting myself right now. Yeah, it's so often. But the way I see it is that if you don't doubt yourself, it means your heart is not in what you're doing, right? So in order to put your heart into what you're doing, you put everything into what you're doing. And so it's obvious that you're going to doubt yourself. You can't be 100% confident in everything that you do, especially when it comes to creativity, because creativity is is playing. You're experimenting. There's no right way of doing things creatively. So you're gonna doubt yourself. But I think a way of reassuring yourself is that you need to understand that this is the nature of being a creative. I'm sure
Mhm.
Shakespeare, when he invented words, he had to doubt himself. I'm sure. I mean, creating words that don't exist. But today they they work. So we learn about them in our school curriculum. So I think you need to understand that doubt is part of the process. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. And Ari, could you take us through like how you work through the times where you've doubted yourself? What are some of the quick strategies that you go to?
Okay, so I doubt myself, I think, a lot more than I need to, but I think it's all just part of being a creative person. Uh, how I work through it is basically I have a lot of friends who are artists. So when I have issues, I'd go to them and I'll tell them I'm not feeling like drawing or I don't like how this is turning out. Then they'd always be there to help me out and push me forward. Or other times I just decide, I'll take a break, I'll do something different. It's art block, something like that. Do something else and come back later and I'll be like, okay, whatever happens will happen. But then at the end of the day, you better yourself. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. What about you, Shakira? How do you work through your art block as Ari has defined it?
I can say that I'm currently on an art block because I haven't been able to make new artwork for my portfolio, which I'm working on for my college application. And so, what I've been doing is I've been attending different webinars and sessions to try and get inspiration and motivation from other artists, and also to get new ideas and somehow incorporate them together to make something new. And so that's what I've been doing to try and get rid of my art block. And as Ari said, sometimes you need to take time and do something else so that you can freshen up and then come back and do this.
Okay, nice. Thank you so much, Shakira, for mentioning. I've heard you mention something about college application. And I think my next question is related towards pursuing art as a career choice. We all know, and I'm sure all the parents on this platform get a lot of anxiety attacks whenever they hear, that their son or their daughter is interested in pursuing art. as an actual, career choice that they'll do. So Shakira, take us through, first of all, have your parents always been like, yes, my daughter, art is what you're going to do and we'll support you fully? But then I'm sure like through that journey, you've also gotten naysayers, people who don't believe that art pays enough, right? That you won't get jobs. So take us through, like your confidence in pursuing this as a career choice.
For me, luckily, my parents are supportive of my choice to pursue art. And what I know about art as a career is that it's a work in progress. Like, you can't just start from here and you're getting the money that you want. You have to start from somewhere small, and you have to keep working and putting all the effort for you to get where you want to go. And I think that's a good thing, because then you get to build yourself emotionally, creatively, and it's quite an experience, but it's something that you have to go through to become who you want to become and to achieve those goals.
Okay, beautiful. I wonder if Ari has something different to share. So what about you, Ari? What has been the journey in terms of bringing your parents along? And what are your motivations in terms of pursuing this as a career? Or is that even something that you're looking to do?
My parents have always been very supportive of me taking art, so it's never been really a problem of um, get, getting to convince them first. But obviously, art as a career path is very difficult, especially if you're going to do something like contemporary art. You won't always have someone who's going to buy your work. So I think it's just take the risk. And for me personally, it's a passion. So I don't want to end up doing something that I don't enjoy. So no matter what happens, I will stick with art and I'll take art.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's very encouraging to hear that your parents are walking this journey with you. For some of us, it was a different case, but I feel like our parents came on board much later on after they saw the proof that okay, you can actually get a job for doing whatever it is that you're doing. But yeah, thank you for sharing. What about you, Leslie? What do you have to share with us about pursuing art as a potential career path, or is that even something that you're looking to pursue?
To be honest, it wasn't always thumbs up, you know. My mom is very supportive. My father, however, he works at a bank, so I'm sure you can guess, you know, if it's not bringing money in, then it's a no, it's a big no. However, I've managed to kind of persuade them, you know. Um, the way I see it is that you put your heart into everything you do. So you do something that makes you happy. And as Ari said, this is what makes us happy. Art makes us happy, and you never know how life may take you, right? And so the reason why we live is to tell our story, right? Money doesn't tell your story. Money is just, it's an asset. It comes and it goes. However, the art that we make is what's going to tell our story. That's going to be after we die, after our bodies decompose, the art is going to speak on our behalf. So yeah, I managed to just explain that to them, and so we're still fighting about it, but I'm determined to win this battle.
Oh, wow, nice. Thank you so much for sharing. I think for me, it just reminds me of the first time. So I also think of myself as a creative, though my creativity is in a different sense. I love cooking. So, and I remember, yes, my parents used to enjoy, like the meals I made. But when it came to joining uni and, I started that conversation and I was like, oh, I want to go to culinary arts school. And it was just a war, right? And I feel like 10 years later, because I was making the decision on what course I'll do in uni like 10 years ago. 10 years later, I feel like my parents are now the greatest fans of, like whatever I'm making. So whatever the case, I think if you have that confidence of this is what I want to do and this is why I want to do it, because I feel for me, I didn't have the confidence to pursue them. Because when it was like, okay, done, a done deal, we're not having this discussion, I was like, okay, fine, I'll choose something different. But then later on in life, I even find that they encourage me to take more risks. So I feel like even though for you, Leslie, like right now it's still, like a back and forth, you should definitely stand your ground. And I think the way you should stand your ground is not just through words, it's also through action, like showing people what you're doing, like inviting them for, like showcases, like the talent show you did, I think it was 2 years ago, right? Yeah, so things like that will win them over for sure. And my next question is about how you've been able to build your skills so far, right? And I'd like to direct these questions to even to you, actually, Leslie, because I'm not particularly sure that we have poetry classes at Nova Pioneer, right? So it would be something that you have to develop above and beyond what you're already doing in terms of your academics. So how have you developed that balance where you're able to focus on your art, and then also you're focusing equally on your academics? So how have you found that balance?
Well,
And also, sorry, and
yeah.
also, why is that balance important for you?
Well, the nice thing about being at Nova Pioneer is that they encourage innovation, right? So when I got to Nova Pioneer, there's no poetry group. So you like poetry, what must you do? Start your own. And that's exactly what I did. I started my own poetry group, and it's much easier than it looks when you love what you're doing. So I Google poets. I go to like poetry slams. I watch poetry videos on YouTube, and that's how I build up my character as a poet. And it might seem to someone else like, wow, that's a lot of work. But if you enjoy what you're doing, it's easy. It's like watching TV. Instead, you're watching poetry. So it's awesome. And managing my time between spoken word and school, that's the tough part, right? Because your teacher, you can't walk into class and be like, ma'am, I was writing a poem yesterday, I'm sorry, you know. That's not a good excuse, you know. So uh I think it's important to balance to balance it all. Maybe use like weekends for poetry, and then during the week you do your schoolwork. And the reason why it's important is because creativity and talent will take you far, but without the work, you won't go as far as you could have gone, right? And so, for example, me being in an English class, I need to learn all of the words. I need to know what a verb is, a noun, a simile, before I can use it in the poems. So yeah, it's important to keep that balance, because that's what's gonna take you far.
Okay, great. It's so interesting hearing your perspective because, of course, Novo Pioneer in Joburg is a day school, right? You're in senior school, but it's a day school. But I'm curious to hear more from the Kenyan students because they're in boarding school, right? And I know when we interact with parents during open days, they always ask, like, how come you don't have art as like a dedicated subject? So I'd like to hear from Shakira, and then we'll go to Ari in terms of how you've been able to manage your time to build your art. And Shakira, talk to us also about you're applying to art school for college, right? Meaning you'll be meeting people who have studied art in their school right from the time they're in kindergarten, right? Up until the time they're finishing high school. So what are you doing to make sure that you're competitive for that process? Because the school you're applying to is super competitive. So take us through that.
Um, uh, Wow. Balancing between academics and my artwork has been one of the biggest challenges I've ever had. And managing that time is quite crazy. Considering that time in school keeps shifting, you figure out you have a quiz tomorrow, so I'm not going to draw what I was planning to draw. Instead, I'm going to read. So, what I've done most of the time is take advantage of any opportunity I get. Like for instance, I remember last year during Valentine's Day, my class decided that we are going to appreciate our teachers and create a presentation. So we had charts and all that, and I decided that I was going to paint something for our teacher. And it was a great opportunity to use my creativity and my artwork during that time. It was actually during exam week, and I was just like, let's do this. This is a nice way of relaxing during such a stressful period. And we did it, and we went and sang for our teacher and presented the artwork to him. And in terms of applying to college, there are very many students who do AP art, and I've been trying to expose myself to the skills that they have been able to get. And in addition to that, I've done research on most of the students who attended this particular college, and I've realized that some people actually weren't that into arts. They aren't people who draw that much, but SCAD takes in people who are creative. So they give you the skills and they help you bring out that creativity. So I think it's not going to be such a challenge, but still I still need to be competitive because I'm working for a scholarship. So I have much to do, and that's where joining sessions and watching YouTube videos and seeking out to different artists about what I should do, whether I'm doing well, and forming connections with actually the college members and talking to people who work there so that I can be able to um, help myself get into this college, or hopefully even better colleges, and get a good scholarship.
Yeah, so tell us more about SCAD because I'm not sure everyone knows about SCAD. What does SCAD stand for? What does the school do? And how far into the process are you in?
Okay, so SCAD is short for Savannah College of Art and Design, and I know Ari is getting into the application process, but I started applying about last year, and it was an interesting process because it's something that I've never done, and I had to do it by myself. This time, my parents are letting me take lead of choosing schools, and so I had to put in my personal information, pay for an application fee. Then I received an admission advisor who has been taking me through the process. So like right now, I'm working on my portfolio. This is not mandatory for those who are not interested in getting scholarships, but I am. So I'm working on my portfolio. I have to do a statement of purpose, which is a personal essay on your personal experience in high school, your academic experience, and what you would like SCAD to do for you and how you use their resources to build yourself. I also need to share with them my transcript. But luckily, a thing that I've noticed about college schools is that they're not so interested in your academics, which is interesting, but that doesn't change anything for me. I'm still working to get my goals and perform well. And yeah, it's been quite an interesting slash hectic experience.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm curious, and I'm sure everyone else is curious to hear about Ari's experience. So Ari, share with us about how, first of all, you've been able to create that balance. First of all, there not being an art program in school, have you been able to consistently like build yourself? And then also take us through, like college application and how's that working out for you?
Okay, so how according to balance, it's always been a very big challenge, especially the kind of person I am. I was never that interested in academics, so I would spend There was a point in time I would spend prep just drawing and I wouldn't do any work. But I found the balance eventually. And the thing is, just create a specific time where you know you're not going to be doing anything academic or school related. So you'll have that time to do your artwork, do any other thing. That's what I usually do. Um, in terms of how I've been able to better myself without even having art as a subject is YouTube. The internet is probably the biggest resource I have. Um, I also have friends, so we challenge each other, we help each other out, give each other tips. I also, in school, we had art club for about a term, but then I don't know what happened to school, so we don't have it anymore. But I've been steadily building art club together with some other students and a teacher, and I've really pushed for it. So hopefully by the time I leave, there'll still be art going on in the school. That's like my legacy that I'm gonna leave. Uh, for university, I also want to apply to SCAT. They have very good resources and the staff are very friendly. So we've had a lot of sessions with them. We've talked back and forth, and I've been able to find like this is how you're supposed to do it. It's not that difficult of a thing to do, but because I'm applying for scholarship as well, I also need to work really hard, like extra hard. I need to put in the effort. I need to do something different, not just the normal thing. I need to be different. So it's still a work in progress, but hopefully I'll do well and I'll get one.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Wishing you guys all the best. And for parents on the line, just to mention that Nova Pioneer is really focused on when students leave school, they have a variety of options to follow, right? So if you're really interested in pursuing art, right, where are some of the best places that you can do that, right? What do you need to be able to access it? And how can we give you the platform to make sure that you're feeling that you're equal to the task, so that even when you're presenting your application with people from other parts of the world, you're able to show up very strongly. And I think I'd just like to commend the students for doing like the absolute most. So during the whole COVID period, they've been having consultation sessions with the Savannah College of Art and Design, which is based in Atlanta in the US. And I attended one of those sessions, and it was an actual session with a professor who was giving them feedback on different types of art. I think this one was about theater and filming, auditioning, and all those things. And it was very, just gripping to see them fully participating in that session, even though they are not college students. Some of them were not even at the level of finishing high school yet, but they're really interested in that. So that's something just to commend them for. And that's why Ari and Shakira were late, because they're just coming from a SCAD session. So keep up the commitment. And I think my last question, and just to mention everyone else on the call, please send in your questions to the chat session. So if you have any question to the students, to myself, please make sure you type them in on the chat session, and then we'll be able to direct them to the students and they can be able to answer that. And I think this will be my last session, my last question to the students is, so when you look at the theme of this webinar tonight, it's been the role of creative arts in shaping like a holistic educational experience. So I just want to hear from your perspective how arts has enabled you to either do better academically, or how it almost speaks to how you found balance. So how are you leveraging art in building your other academic skills? And then as you think about that, I'd also like to ask this question just to anyone who's able to answer. I don't know how many of you on this call are in the creative industry, particularly in Kenya, where there's been a trending topic for the last couple of days, talking about how the industry does not appreciate the real work that the artists are putting out. you know. And I think I was having a conversation with someone, and you find that, yes, for upcoming artists especially, you find that, you know, maybe organizations will take advantage of that and ask you, you know, to do free work, maybe for exposure, right? So how do you make sure that even as you're an upcoming artist, whether it's, you know, for Leslie with spoken word, or for Shakira and Ari with traditional art, how do you strike that balance of making sure that, yes, you want the exposure, but you also know your worth, so that you're not just taking anything for the sake of it? Shakira, maybe we'd hear from you and then go to the others.
Well, this is a challenging question
Mhm.
because sometimes it's hard to tell when you're being taken advantage of. Because sometimes I think of myself as a positive person. So if someone was asking me to do work for them, I'd think of it as a way of building myself and also using their resources to build myself. So I'd keep myself within that industry
Yeah.
so that I can become better without knowing that I'm not being paid for this work and without knowing that it should be paid for. So I think that as an artist, it's good to know when someone is taking advantage of you and acknowledging it. And you have to plan yourself and figure out what's your next step. Because if you keep staying there, you might not be able to grow personally as a creative, and you might not be able to grow in terms of the market and your brand and all that type of stuff. So you have to be very keen on such stuff, and it's going to be an interesting experience, and I don't know how I'm going to take it, and it's going to be quite crazy, but I'm ready for it because art is my passion and it's something that I want to dive into, so I'm ready to take on the challenges.
Yes, and I think with what you've said, Shakira, if you're passionate about something, there's also the self-awareness, because when you're aware of the kind of output you're putting in terms of work, it's easy for you to tell that, you know what, I feel like this will take me to the next level, but I also feel like this is not, you know, something I should be pursuing. So I think the awareness also comes with the passion. So thank you for sharing that. What about you, Leslie?
Um, so I think, yes, in some cases, artists are being taken for granted. But I think the roots of that problem, it stems from the fact that creativity and art is very unique. So it's not something that brings about definite pleasure, right? So when I'm about to go on stage, I pray, literally pray that the audience will like what I'm giving them. It's not something like like you know that definitely they're gonna be impressed by what you're bringing forth, right? So that's what I think um is the stumbling block for most artists. But in order, it's important for you to know your worth as well. However, I do live by the motto: do not let any opportunity slide. Don't waste any opportunity. So for me, whether it's for recognition or whether it's for money, it really doesn't matter. I don't like declining things, right? So obviously you want to get paid for the work you put in, right? But it doesn't mean that if somebody's not willing to pay you, you should decline and be like, no, I'm not doing that. I honestly, I believe, please don't let any opportunity pass you by, because you never know what might happen. I mean, there might be somebody in the crowd that's got connections to some big gig that you don't know about, right? And so you're doing this thing for free, and that person spots you, and they're like, "I love your work," and I've got a space for you overseas. You get to travel or whatever. That's something that you don't know. So don't let any opportunity slide. I do think that I think you can also judge your work by the amount of effort that you put in. So if I'm required to recite a poem that I've already written, then I'm sure, yeah, that can be done, as a favor or something. But if somebody wants me to write a brand new poem, that's something I can sit all night about. I don't get much sleep because I need to write this wonderful poem, and the amount of effort that goes into creating this artwork, it's a lot of work that, and you can't just take it for granted and be like, I'm not gonna pay you for that, because while you were sleeping nicely, I was up writing a poem. So let's not play. It's my time and my effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Leslie. What about you, Ari?
Could you please repeat the question?
So the
Kind of
question
lost.
is, I think we've heard from Shakira and Leslie about, like, especially this is something I've noted with the Kenyan industry, the creative industry, where a lot of creatives feel that they're being taken for granted. And also, like, I do have friends who are upcoming creatives where, you find that you'll be told to do work for free just for the exposure, right? So I was asking, what's your opinion on that? And then also, it would be nice to hear from you in terms of how you have leveraged art to build your other things. Maybe like, especially like in your case, academics. So how do you feel like art has contributed in building that holistic educational experience?
Okay, so about Kenya and the art scene, in general, it's not really that recognized, but I think in the last few years it's been growing steadily. So for me, I don't exactly want to be part of the Kenyan art scene until much later because I would like to bring in like art schools in Kenya, art stores where people can actually get the resources. So we don't really have a lot of them. Um, but you know, as the current age that I'm in, I can't really be picky with what happens. So I just need to push through. You need to go through the. If it's not that built up, build it yourself.
Yeah.
You also need to know your work. So if you're gonna do art as a favor, or as a present, I think that's okay. That's fine. But sometimes people just want to take advantage of the fact that you're an artist and can do this or that for them. Like recently, I got a DM from someone, and she was asking me if I could draw her. I'm like, okay, how much are you willing to pay? And she says, no, just as friends. And I'm like, I don't even know you. We're not really friends, so it doesn't make sense for me to take my time and actually do that for you. So you also need to know your worth, and you can't just don't be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
In terms of how art has helped my academics, I think finding that balance between doing art and being academic has given me a way to basically structure how I do my things. So even when it comes to the academic part of things, it's also structured in its own manner. So I can do a particular subject at a time and be able to finish all my work and still, not be totally burnt out. So I think it's really helped me.
Okay. Wow, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. There's a question here to directed to Leslie. And Leslie, the question is, sorry, just give me a second. I see it. Yes. How do you see your future as a poet? And what impact do you plan to have as a creative in this future?
Okay. So my dream is for spoken word to become one of the biggest poetry networks in the world. And the impact that I want to have, you see, there are a lot of poetry networks around the world, like even more than I can name on my fingers. But what they do is that they bring the 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 poet to the audience. And what I want to do is I want to bring the audience to the poet, because there are a lot of talented poets out there, such as myself, who have nowhere to they have no idea where to start, who's gonna listen. You have a poem. I can't just walk into a room and be like, yeah, guys, I wrote a poem last night. Listen to this. You understand? People don't take you seriously like that. So I want to rally up everybody who's interested in poetry, everybody who appreciates the spoken word, and bring them to the poets. And I hope that in that case, it will help heal the arts as a whole. And I think poetry also. I want to give more insights to what poetry is. There's a lot of people out there who don't know what poetry is. I myself, before grade 8, I had no idea what poetry was, you know. So I think more and more people need to start delving into poetry, because the thing about being a creative, right, is that creativity is it's it's the gift of playing, right? So you're playing, you're having fun, you're doing what you like, you're mixing things up, things that you wouldn't have mixed up if you were to follow rules. Each and every day, as we go through school life, we learn about rules, we learn about laws, we learn about limitations. And having creativity is having the ability to play with those things, experiment with them. So I think it's important for people to delve into things that they haven't dealt with before. That's how you're gonna know. If I hadn't written that first poem, even today I wouldn't be here. So I need spoken word to be, the thing that people play with, something like that. That I'm hoping, my dream is to build a poetry theater in almost every country in the world.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that very profound answer. And I think this is like a very nice segue to end the session, because I can see we are out of time, even though we started a bit late. But there's a question that came in from Ms. Sebayang, and I think you've answered that in terms of the legacy you want to leave. And for everyone, Ms. Sebayang is the teacher who first introduced Leslie to poetry, a very good friend of mine as well. I think the question to Shakira and Ari, because Leslie has been able to answer that, is what legacy do you hope to leave as a creative or as an artist? So Shakira, you're right next, so we could go to you.
Okay, that's actually a good question. And it's been something I keep asking myself, and I'm still trying to figure it out because I'm still undecided on the type of artistic career I want to pursue. But I keep changing my goal for art. I once started with the goal of trying to send a message to the world in different ways, on trying to, for example, hello?
Hello, yes, we can hear you, Shakira.
Oh, my laptop is currently going through technical issues. But if you can hear me, then it's fine. I can continue. I have a passion for the environment, and so that passion can be used to, I can use my art to also bring out that passion, and that's something was my goal at some point, but then it keeps changing. And at some point, I also thought of doing animation as a career. And I was thinking about how I can bring a message to children, because that's also quite important. And as I was watching cartoons and animated movies, I was thinking about the message that they bring to children. And you don't realize these things when you're a child. And I rewatch them at this age, I start to realize why exactly they were creating this movie. And so it started something in me and made me feel like I want to do this thing where you can send a message to the children. But I'm still thinking about it, so we'll see how that goes as I continue to go through this art progress.
Yeah, and I think, thank you so much for sharing that, Shakira. And I think also something to note is it's not a linear journey. Like there'll be those bumps, you know, there'll be turns, there'll be that stagnation. You just told us that you're going through an art block right now. So I think with those like comes the opportunity to reinvent yourself. So it's never like a stagnant goal. So feel free to redefine yourself, be a bit dramatic with it, whichever way you want to, right? So long as at the end of the day, you're still doing what you love and you're passionate about, but then the end goal could be different, right? Thank you for sharing. And Ari, finally, what legacy do you want to leave as an artist, as a creative? I think you mentioned something about it in terms of
Yeah.
resources, but talk to us more about that.
Okay, so the legacy that I'd like to leave is building the younger generation. Because, okay, as I was growing up as an artist in Kenya, I haven't really done any art lessons or seen any major art schools. And that's something that I'd really like to do. I'd like to be able to teach the younger generation so that in general, our country can become more creative. So the leaders who come up will be able to think more creatively, come up with better solutions and things like that. I'd also like to bring in a chain of stores that will be able to provide such resources to the younger generation and be able to give them what they need in order to pursue the different aspects of art that they'd like to do. Even now in school, I hope to leave the legacy of an art club, a functioning and well stocked up art club. The other students who come will be able to join, even if they're not even interested, they'll be able to join, they'll be able to learn and get something out of it. Yeah, that's what I'd like to have as my legacy.
Wow, beautiful, very profound. And I like that for each of you who has shared, from like Leslie to Shakira and then to you, Ari, I love the fact that there's the aspect of how it's going to bring up other people, right? So there's that individualistic piece of art where you're like, yes, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what it does to me, but then how can I extend an arm so that other people also like gain from it? So I feel like that has really touched me, and it's, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Interesting. If you can hear me, just okay. Hello, can you hear me? Great. It seems like I have a really bad internet connectivity. Can you hear me now? Oh, beautiful. Great. So thank you everyone for sharing. So we've come to the, like close of our, session. And it's very funny how an hour's pretty passed by so fast because I was really getting into it and enjoying. So what I'd like us to do, there's one last poll that we have. There's a poll that we have, so that will come on screen. So just feel free to share that so that we can learn more about, how the session has been for the parents, like any future considerations we should be having. And then as we wrap it up, I'd like one of you, either Ari, Shakira, or Leslie, to just have like a parting shot, like a very quick parting shots. Hello. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry,
Okay, okay.
just really have bad internet connection, but I'm glad I'm back. So could we have just a quick parting shot to, there's prospective students on the line, there's current students on the line, there's prospective parents. So any parting shots could be anything, like words of wisdom.
Oh, from my side, I would like to say to everybody out there, as I've said before, please don't let any opportunity slide. So some things may look like it's not for you, or you don't want to do this, you're not interested in that. You don't know yet. Everybody on this earth was born for a purpose, and you will never discover your purpose unless you play. That is what creativity is. It's the gift of playing. So you need to explore, need to try different things, try a sport, try playing chess, try learning a language, try doing art. You will never know what you were born to do unless you actually do something. The worst thing I ever heard in my life was when I asked a friend why they don't do things at school, and she said, I'm riding my own wave, which to me was absolute nonsense. Don't ride your own wave. Try things, do things, make yourself known out there. That's how you succeed in life. So don't let any opportunity slide and continue experimenting. That's from my side. Thank you very much for having me part of this initiative.
Thank you so much, Leslie. We really appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to just engaging more. What about you, Shakira?
I think I also have another don't, like
Mhm.
Leslie. Um, I think that you shouldn't let other people let you down. And the most important thing is that you shouldn't let yourself down, because doubt is quite dangerous, and it can make you stop doing what you love, and it can make you drown in hopelessness. And so, despite whatever doubts you might have, just keep pushing and keep telling yourself that it's just the process of getting to where you want to go and achieving the goals you want. So don't let anybody, and especially don't let yourself, bring yourself down.
Beautiful, Shakira. Thank you so much for that very powerful message. And lastly, Ari.
I'd like to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to be able to speak to other people and share my side of the story on being a creative. Uh, Things I'd like to leave you with is you need to be patient with whatever you do. Uh, Things don't come easy and things don't come quickly, so you need to be patient and just take things slow. Persevere in whatever you do. So if you're doing something and it doesn't seem like it's working, just go through it, persevere, and eventually you'll find the fruits of your labor. And whatever you're gonna do, enjoy it. You need to enjoy what you do for you to be actually happy, for you to be able to have a happy life. So enjoy whatever you do. If you don't enjoy it, then it's not really worth it. And don't let society define you. Be who you want to be and be original. Be yourself and don't change for other people. Yeah, that's all.
Wow, thank you so much for that very powerful piece of sharing for Leslie, Shakira, and Ari. I'm sure like people have been inspired. Just to let everyone else on the call know, thank you so much for your patience. And because we started a bit late, we've been able to extend, but next time we'll be able to keep time. So thank you so much for your patience. And yes, so this session has been recorded, so we'll avail the recap so that you can be able to just like get to see the gems that like the students have been able to share. But otherwise, I wish you a very beautiful weekend and rest of the evening from a very rainy and cold Nairobi. I hope that you get to have a warm evening and a very enjoyable weekend. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We'll give you more details about the next webinar. It will be in the next 2 weeks. But thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Have a lovely evening.